CMSD is a vastly different place than we were in 2011. Together, the momentum we are seeing from kindergarten to third grade literacy improvements, the momentum we are seeing on test scores from third grade through high school, and the momentum we are seeing on continuously increasing graduation rates earned us an overall grade of D on this year's report card, up from the F we earned last year. I started the speech today by talking about Newton's laws, but up to now I haven't mentioned Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That law implies that our momentum can be stopped if an equal and opposite reaction is applied.
Health experts believed it was just a matter of time, and now the coronavirus is in Ohio. 3 cases in Cuyahoga County.
So we are announcing today that children of the state will have an extended spring break.
1 week turned into 2, 2 turned into 3, and then next thing you know, we're supposed to be having summer break.
I teach math. Math is an exact science. It's very hard to teach mathematics online or through a computer to a kid who doesn't know what one-to-one correspondence is, doesn't know what a number is.
We learned that when it was required of us, we could innovate very, very quickly. I hope that we don't lose that as the world seeks a sense of balance and normalcy again. CMSD is a vastly different place than we were in 2011. Together, the momentum we are seeing from kindergarten to third grade literacy improvements, the momentum we are seeing on test scores from third grade through high school, and the momentum we are seeing on continuously increasing graduation rates earned us an overall grade of D on this year's report card, up from the F we earned last year. I started the speech today by talking about Newton's laws, but up to now I haven't mentioned Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That law implies that our momentum can be stopped.
Good evening and welcome to Talk to the CEO Live. I'm Darielle Snipes with the CMSD News Bureau. Tonight, Superintendent and CEO Eric Gordon will be answering your questions. Here's all you need to do. Ask a question in the comments section of the Talk to the CEO post on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And members of the communication team will review it and then send it to me, and then I will ask Mr. Gordon the question. While we wait for your questions, I'll ask a few questions of my own. So without further ado, please help me welcome CMSD CEO and Superintendent Eric Gordon. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to see you as always.
Yes. So let's start with the pretty exciting news. The CMSD Get More Opportunities Fund application is now live. So that means that students, staff, parents, and others can submit applications for proposals on anything that they think would help the district. They can also submit ideas. But the one thing that I think is really exciting is that two students from each high school will also be approving these proposals. So they'll be in on the action. So this is really exciting. So have we received a lot of applications so far?
As I understand it, we have over 80 applications just since announcing it last week. I am really excited. You know how much it matters to me that students have voice and agency and are influential in how the district operates. And so it's really exciting to me to be able to hand the responsibility with support and training to kids who will be the distribution committee just as if they were board members on the Cleveland Foundation or any other philanthropic organization. What better way for the philanthropic gift of Mackenzie Scott to go to good use than to ask students how best to use it. We want it to be opportunities for young people, for educators, for our community that the district wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So for example, we know that there's a good deal of interest in opportunities for young people to travel. I would like to see us potentially help young people get their passports so that they can travel. We know that teachers often have really innovative ideas, but the district can't support them. So I'm really excited. Our first distribution committee meeting with students will be in April. They will do 2 distributions before the school year ends and hopefully a third one over the summer as well. So it's off and running. People can find more information about the Opportunities Fund on clevelandmetroschools.org. And if you are not a CMSD employee, you can still apply. You just need a sponsor employee because it'll be run through the district's budget.
Wonderful. And so another good thing that just recently happened, the Department of Education Deputy Secretary Cindy Martin was here for a visit for the Raise the Bar, Lead the World initiative. CMSD was just one of 8 schools that she'll be visiting across the nation for this initiative. What did she see? What did we show to her? And how did she like visiting CMSD?
Yeah, so this is really exciting to have the Deputy Secretary of Education under President Biden's leadership here in Cleveland. They picked us as their exemplar cities. They were looking for 8 places across the country that they believe are really doing what they want to see happening to improve learning. For us, it really was about closing learning gaps and expanding learning opportunities for young people. And we took the Deputy Secretary to Memorial School, where she was in a kindergarten classroom that has been studying hatcheries and the life cycle of birds going from an egg to an incubator to hatching or to being incubated naturally. And they were building nests and being able to demonstrate what materials are needed, and then they were going to actually get eggs and put them in an incubator. And kindergartners knew what the word incubator meant and described it to the Deputy Secretary, who was herself a kindergarten teacher.
Nice.
We then went to 2nd grade, where the students were studying pollination, and they were actually using crushed up candy hearts of different colors to demonstrate that you need different colors in flowers for a reason, and that reason is that different pollinators, bees, bugs, flies, bats, and other animals are attracted to different colors, that some animals can't see some colors, and so pollination works in part because of color. And the students, again, had already learned what the pollination process was, and then we're going to, again, try to do some pollination of their own using the science that they had learned. We got to visit some middle school students who had just read a story about Nazi Germany and about young people at middle school age who had one day to pack what they could and leave, and then were given the assignment if they could only take one thing if they had to leave their home, what would it be and why? And these students who had one day to prep stood in front of the Deputy Secretary and answered that question. One of my favorites was the student who brought a backpack with things in it and said I was allowed to take one thing and my bag is the thing and you can't judge me for what's in it. So that's how I was resourceful. Another young person actually paired up with 3 of her friends, and so one brought the cell phone to communicate with family, the other brought the charger because they wouldn't be able to communicate for a long time. The third brought cash so that they could buy things that they needed, and the fourth brought, I think, food or something. So really, and then one group actually said, you know, we chose not to replicate the story. We said, what would we do if we were bombed like what's happening in the Ukraine right now? So here students are connecting, middle school students, to, you know, national, international news, and what they would do if Cleveland were a victim of bombing like the Ukrainians are right now. And then we went to Lakeside, to our Davis Aerospace and to our Digital Arts High School, where she got to see all kinds of learning in action, including the photography club and the digital arts, which is part of their curriculum, actually following her around and taking pictures and chronicling that. And getting into an algebra classroom, which of course is what I taught, so my passion, and then actually seeing our students logging their flight hours on the flight simulator. She then shared back that in other cities, you know, the things they picked were more programs. You know, what is your healthcare program? What is your career pathway program? But she said here in Cleveland, what she saw was learning, and that's not a program. And she said it was very clear to her that this was not staged for her visit, because there was no way that you could prep for a day what she was experiencing, where kids were showing you where they were in a project, what they were learning so far. And so it was, I'm talking a lot about it, but it was an exciting opportunity for Cleveland to shine. And, you know, we have a lot more to do. So I always want to remind us, just because good things are happening doesn't mean we've achieved our goal, but both can be true. We can be pursuing our great goals and also be doing good work, which got recognized last week by the Secretary.
It sure did. And speaking of that, I know that you announced at the school board meeting that the winter literacy data came back, and 203 additional third graders have met their literacy goals. While that is good news, there are still many children who still need to work on meeting that goal. So what are some of the interventions that are happening so that these children can meet that goal?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk a little later, I think, about the pandemic itself, but these are the third graders whose kindergarten got shut down and who didn't have a typical first grade. And kindergarten and first grade are when you really start forming your ability to read. So this is a group, and the second graders behind them, that we have to keep paying a lot of attention to. So obviously the first and most important thing is the core instruction in our classrooms, and our teachers continue to do just a great job of focusing on core instruction. But we've also added some supports in centers and outside of the day with some tutoring programs that get at smaller clusters. One that I'm super excited about is called Amira. Amira is actually artificial intelligence, and so a lot of us around the country are wondering, what should we do with this? It's not going away. We better figure out how to use it. And so Carnegie Mellon has actually developed this avatar that listens to children reading, and in real time, based on millions of pieces of data, stops and says, Daria, let's go back and sound out that word, and actually helps readers correct in real time, just as a live tutor would do. So we're really excited to be piloting that in 4 schools this spring. And then equally excited for a program called Ignite in 3 other schools. And Ignite is actually live tutors for 15 minutes a day. So that's the space of a center where you're on a Teams call, but you're actually having a live tutor work with you in your reading. And we're going to study both of these programs for larger deployment for next year's group. Outside of that, Amira can go home. Ignite obviously can't. You can't take the live person with you. But we also have our live tutoring Monday to Thursday for any kid in any subject. That is our real CMSD teachers, our educators. You book through Teams again so that you can do it from your home. And all the sign-up information is on our website, 4:30 to 7:30. 30-minute blocks. And then we have an anytime, anywhere called tutorme.com that is literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. With all of that, we're also preparing to launch Summer Learning Experience to keep kids engaged and closing those gaps. And so lots of effort being put in place to continue to move those kids that are not yet at grade level to grade level. Finally, I would just remind everyone that third grade reading proficiency is something that is supposed to be achieved by the end of the year. So it is not a bad thing that a young person hasn't yet gotten there, if in fact they're making progress. There are 2 spring tests and there are 2 summer tests for 4th grade promotion that we've got to keep focused on.
Great, and so we do have one question about what do you think about the AI chat GPT? Is this something that can be utilized by the district to help educate students, which you've just talked about, or is it dangerous technology that we should avoid? I mean, I know that you just talked about that, but some people are still very hesitant about it.
Well, look, it's going to happen. And so the question is, how do we responsibly get in front of it? I remember when phones came out and calculators came out and don't let them in the classroom. They're here, right? And there are lots of school systems across the country who are just pretending it's not here, keeping it out. We could block it here. We cannot block it in every home that it's going to be used in anyway. So we have to get smarter about it. So I mentioned already how we're trying to use it for the reading support program. Another example is we have a small cohort of teachers that we're actually working with to actually design lesson plans using AI, actually asking AI content to develop a lesson plan that meets these profiles and showing how we can use it as a production tool. How do we teach young people responsible uses of it as opposed to letting them figure it out on their own, probably in ways we don't want them to, until it's just part of our life that we have to live with anyway. I've also approached my national organization, the Council of the Great City Schools, who is actually putting a task force together on this to participate in that task force to help develop good guidance for school districts so that we make the best of this new thing that's here, whether we like it or not. And people feel all kinds of ways, I know that. What I also know is it's not going away.
Right, so we have to just get ahead of it or we'll be behind. We don't want to be behind.
That's right. And urban school districts in particular are often the last to the table, and we just can't afford to be. We have to figure out how to help our kids use these tools smartly when everybody else is figuring it out too.
Understand. So another question is, should parents be worried about losing programs that are currently in place when a new CEO is selected?
I think the answer is absolutely no. I think it's a great question, but I think the answer is absolutely no. And I would urge the parent who asked that question to take some time to go to the website, click on the CEO search button, and watch the presentation. It's either a video or just a written PowerPoint, either way, of what we heard, not we because it's not me, but what the community heard. The community heard protect and cherish a number of things that the district has done over the last decade and is doing now that the community has signaled very clearly the next CEO needs to understand, and then make some legitimately needed improvements. All of us are struggling with safety, particularly coming to and leaving school and around our school. That's got to get better. It's something I'm working on, but the next CEO has to. We're all concerned about student and adult mental and behavioral health. What are we going to continue to do to expand that integrated health work that we've got underway? And then finally, we should always be improving achievement. So those were the three things that were kind of the tasks. So I think as long as the board and the community stays clear on what it is they expect of the new CEO, you should feel very confident that we're not going to see dramatic changes. Every signal, if I were interviewing for this job, every signal I'm getting is that my job is to come in and accelerate what's happening, not to come in and dismantle and start over. Frankly, that also makes the job really attractive for great candidates because it's harder to be the person that's supposed to come in and figure out how to fix what's broken than it is to come in and leverage where we are and move it forward. So I think that's actually going to bring great people to the job too.
Well, since we are talking about the CEO search, I know you're not a part of it. This is not your thing. It's the school boards. They're initiating this, but where does that stand? I know that the application is live and people are applying, but when will the interviewing process start, if you know that?
So what I know is what's on the website, which is that the board and the search firm Alma Advisory Group plan to be doing screening and interviewing in March and April, so it is now March. So I anticipate that the board is going to be making some decisions and some announcements here in maybe the next couple of weeks, updating the community. The best thing anyone can do to stay up to date is continue to go to clevelandmetroschools.org/CEO search. The board has done a really, really nice job of keeping that updated, and so I expect that the board will be announcing something soon. The public should know the board is meeting every other Saturday in executive session, so they really are putting a lot of time and energy into this to keep this search on track, to make sure that it's going well. and to make sure that it's an inclusive and transparent process. The other thing I think people should be aware of is there's a lot of nervousness that it's so late. It's not. Columbus City, Akron Public, and Dayton Public are all looking for CEOs or superintendents.
Wow.
None of them have actually started their searches yet, and we're well underway here. So I think the board's just done a tremendous job, and the community can have a lot of confidence as they continue to move forward.
Wonderful. I just want to remind everyone, if you have a question for CEO Gordon, please ask it in the comments below on the Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube channel so that I can ask it. It'll go to the communications team, they will review it, and then they'll send it to me so I can ask Mr. Gordon. Another question that we do have right now is the mental health of students is of great concern. Are there plans to help schools that need extra support and resources to help these students?
Yeah, so not only students but adults, everybody has come out of the pandemic struggling. And so we are working on a number of things. We're looking at what kinds of programs and supports that we can do that are kind of short and quick term interventions. How do we, there's actually app technology now that many of us use to help us to deal with coping strategies. So things like that we're exploring, but we're also looking at the deeper interventions. How do we expand integrated health services, using telehealth as an example, so that we can actually connect students directly to a health professional in a private setting using a tablet instead of expecting to have enough clinicians on site. So it's part of the wraparound supports of the whole human that we're really trying to be deliberate about. And we have a whole team of people in the district working on what that suite of services that we can actually access are. The dilemma, like so many other things right now, is that there is more need than capacity to serve that need, and so we have to look at a multi-layered approach so that we have the acute services for those who really need it most, but we have other things that we can offer for other young people. And again, other adults also that maybe is a little bit lighter touch or using telecommunications, again, things like that.
Right. Well, and that's wonderful because it's so important, because if you don't have the mental health, it's kind of hard to learn if you're thinking about other things while you're in class, and especially for parents.
And it's hard to teach if you're feeling these stresses, right? And it's hard for a family to support their child as they're feeling it. I mean, we're fortunate we have Say Yes to Education. We have a family support specialist in every single school. They have access to the United Way 211 database. We have great partnerships with the Cuyahoga County Mental Health, and yet there is much more to do. And so we are really working to figure out what those additional things we can do are as we go into the spring and as we prepare for next year.
And a lot of the mental health issues definitely came out during the pandemic, which is, we're approaching the 3-year anniversary, if you can imagine. But on March 16th, the CMSD communications team will premiere a documentary about how the district handled the pandemic and how learning changed here in the district. So before we talk about that, let's take a look at the trailer.
CMSD is a vastly different place than we were in 2011. Together, the momentum we are seeing from kindergarten to 3rd grade literacy improvements, the momentum we are seeing on test scores from 3rd grade through high school, and the momentum we are seeing on continuously increasing graduation rates earned us an overall grade of D on this year's report card, up from the F we earned last year. I started the speech today by talking about Newton's laws, but up to now I haven't mentioned Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That law implies that our momentum can be stopped if an equal and opposite reaction is applied.
Health experts believed it was just a matter of time, and now the coronavirus is in Ohio. 3 cases in Cuyahoga County.
So we are announcing today that children of the state will have an extended spring break.
1 week turned into 2, 2 turned into 3, and then next thing you know, we're supposed to be having summer break.
I teach math. Math is an exact science. It's very hard to teach mathematics online or through a computer to a kid who doesn't know what one-to-one correspondence is, doesn't know what a number is.
We learned that when it was required of us, we could innovate very, very quickly. I hope that we don't lose that as the world seeks a sense of balance and normalcy again.
So as you just saw, that this will premiere on March 16th at the Capitol Theater, but Mr. Gordon, I mean, this, just looking at the premiere, and this is a full documentary that the CMSC communications team has put together. I mean, it just brings back like so many memories of what we went through. But you know, the question I want to ask you is, looking back and then where we are today, can you just talk about how things have changed in CMSD to make sure that the students are excited about learning?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the full documentary yet, but just watching the trailer with you, I was saying, oh my gosh, remember those packets and, you know, the stuff that we went through. You know, I wouldn't say changed, I would say changing, because again, there's so much to do. But we made a commitment as a team, and with the support of this community, that while the rest of the world was trying to, quote, get back to normal, we were going to try to do something better. We were going to come out of this trying to do something more. That's where Get More actually came from. People telling us they expected more. They wanted more of the things that suburban kids have had. And so that was the art, music, phys ed, that's the projects, that's the clubs, that's the activities. We've had some big wins this weekend from that. It is the commitment to even more voice and agency. We now have student journalists working with the communications department. We have bloggers. We have kids who are podcasting. We have kids, actually a student tonight, testifying in front of City Council about gun violence because of the agency that student has. And so, you know, what I'm excited to see out of that is what we're aspiring to be. Because if you can dream big, you can become big. And I frankly just think so many people tried to get back to normal when our community has given ourselves the challenge of doing better. And I think, again, to the top of the show, that's why Cindy Martin was here, Deputy Secretary Martin was here, not because we're the best performing school district in the country, but because we've committed to doing something better with this crisis we had than getting back to normal. And I'd just end it with saying, it would have been super easy to say, let's get back to normal, because as you saw at the top of the trailer, we were really moving. We were the, you know, one of the fastest improving districts in the state. And so we had something to fall back on. I just am really proud of us as a community to always go further and faster.
But one thing that you always said constantly through the pandemic is that while it's a horrible thing, this is our opportunity to reset and move forward. I mean, you were always thinking about how can we, you know, get out of this but do something different, because it was a time where, you know, we had been doing, like you said, you've talked about it, we've been teaching, you know, this way for hundreds of years, so let's now do something different.
Well, a couple of things. One is I was taught a long time ago, never waste a crisis. And if you think about where I began in 2011, we had just come out of basically bankruptcy and laid off hundreds of people, and we invented the Cleveland Plan, and we reinvented ourselves, and here we are in a better place. So never waste a good crisis, and here we are again with this crisis, right? But also, you know, our educators and our kids and our families demonstrated such a resilience and such an innovation. I mean, I can tell you stories of teachers who were teaching on Instagram before we were able to get technology into hands. The lessons we were teaching on CW 43 so that kids could, you know, stay connected. Teaching dance virtually with kids literally dancing around their bed because it was the only space they had in their home where they could practice their stuff. I mean, it could go on and on. Right. So why go through all of that and not harvest it and use it to make something even better for everyone? And I think that's what we're trying to do.
Wonderful. And I just want to remind everyone that the premiere is open to the public. It is free, and it's at the Capitol Theater starting at 6 p.m. on Thursday, March 16th. So definitely come out and watch Momentum: From Pandemic to Cleveland's New Way of Learning. It is definitely a must-see. So definitely check it out. So I know that we're running out of time, but I just wanted to also, we have another question. Where do we stand with funding for Say Yes program coordinators and keeping them in our schools?
Yeah, so we're making progress. I believe have gotten some resources and support from the state of Ohio, or if not, I believe that's coming. The district has allocated some additional dollars. City Council, through the mayor's request, has allocated additional dollars, and I believe even the county is able to is contemplating adding some additional support. So I've been confident we would solve this issue. I'm even more confident that we have solved it for the short term. Long term, we've been working with state policymakers to make some regulatory changes in Ohio that would allow us to get some federal funding that is already available to Ohio. We just have to change the mechanism so we can take the dollars so it doesn't cost Ohio taxpayers any new money. But it takes money that Ohio has sent to the federal government, brings it back to Ohio and to Cleveland. So we're working on that strategy too. So I'm very optimistic that we've solved the near-term issue, but that it's also shined a light on the bigger issue that we have to get in front of, and that too will be solved.
And when it comes to the next academic year, now is the time for families to choose which school they want their child to go to by going to choosecmsd.org. But new this year, we're having school choice fairs for pre-K through 8 families so that they can get in front of representatives from all of our schools and see what they have to offer. I mean, this is really, very successful with the high school choice fairs and now bringing it to the pre-K through 8. Just what do talk to me about why that's important to have these choice fairs for all students.
Well, listen, Cleveland is a city of choice, whether you agree with it or not. We have a number of parochial schools, a number of charter schools, and our district schools. And so we have embraced that if we're going to be in a choice environment, we too should be a choice community. And again, to the earlier question about the next CEO, one of the clear things that was lifted as cherish and protect is our ability to choose our schools. We've done it at the high school level citywide. You can go anywhere. That's harder to do at the K-8 level. So what we're trying now is 4 regional fairs so that families can look at K-8 schools within their neighborhoods, knowing that some of those come with transportation, others of them don't, that transportation is either up to the family or a walk zone, but that you need the same opportunity to learn about our K-8 choices, which are not all one size fits all either. They have various different programs in them. And so that families can have some extra information to make better choices for their needs in the K-8 space. So this is new for us. We're excited to be trying it and always trying to learn and improve.
Wonderful. And if you want to know when those fairs are happening, go to clevelandmetroschools.org/choosecmsd for that. And also, if you want to make your selection for a school next year, you can do that at that location as well. Well, wrapping up, I know we're running out of time, but summer learning experience, summer's just around the corner. When can parents sign up for the summer learning experience, if we know a date yet?
Yeah, so we're expecting to open the summer learning registration portal on April 3rd, so that we have a good 2 months before summer learning begins. K-8 summer learning this year will be Tuesday, June 20th through Friday, July 21st. High schools will be Monday, June 26th through July 21st. So we're well underway, well under preparation. We're going to be sending out communications and mailers to all of our families here in the next few weeks. So getting it on everybody's radar with the registration portal, again, planned to open in the first week of April.
April 3rd,
April.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time and filling us in on everything that's going on with the district.
I do just have to say one more thing. We've had a lot of exciting things happening with kids.
Okay.
So I spent the whole weekend zipping all over the state. I was in Perrysburg, Ohio, over by Toledo, where our wrestlers were competing. Of our 11 wrestlers from 3 high schools, one of them did place to move to the state. And keep in mind, it's hard to get that level. Mm-hmm. We had 4 women wrestlers out in Mentor who from 2 schools. I also, Glenville High School won the district title for boys basketball and is moving into the semi-regional game on this Thursday in Canton. And yesterday at the state cheer championship, there were 2 urban school districts in the schools in the room. It was John Hay and Glenville. John Hay took 2nd place, Glenville took 1st. So our Cleveland schools were the top 2 cheer teams in their category in Ohio. So lots to celebrate with our young people, and I couldn't let us close up without recognizing all of those young people, their families, and their coaches.
I know. I mean, I understand that. I mean, because I saw your tweets, and but that just goes to show that we are doing great things, and that these opportunities are happening for our scholars.
Well, it's examples of what we want for every single student, and that's why I didn't want us to miss the opportunity to celebrate all those young people. We're going to be in Canton on Thursday night. I was supposed to be in Columbus. I'm actually driving back from Columbus to be with the team on Thursday night, and then heading back to Columbus Friday morning for the rest of the meeting I was supposed to be at. And I hope that they not only bring me back to Canton for the finals, but then send me to Dayton for the state playoffs too. They're only 4 games away from bringing the state title in basketball home. Not
to jinx them, but what if Glenville took home the football state championship and basketball They took home the state championship. They already have the cheerleaders. I mean, that's two. So, I mean, that would be great if they did kind of a sweep on football, basketball, and cheer.
It'd be nice for Glenville, and it's also great, and I said this to the John Hay young women yesterday who, were defeated. They came in second place. I said, yeah, but you came in second place as the 2 urban districts ahead of all of these other districts that in the past you would have never even been here.
Right.
So this is not just a Glenville win. This is a Cleveland win because great things are happening with our kids in our community, and we have to celebrate that.
Yes, well, with that, we will say goodnight. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody who participated tonight.
Yes, and thank you for watching Talk to the CEO Live. Until next time, have a good night.